Good afternoon, or morning, or night, or whatever we have, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. The Bill Crane Report's on the air, and we're going to have a bit of a different show for you today. First hour or so, hopefully, will be business as usual, where I'll start yelling and screaming, and Dwayne will try to sedate me.
Yeah, well, it's tough. I mean, you got to watch this guy.
The second half of the show is going to be We've Been Reading, Dwayne and I. And I'm going to show you some of the stuff I've been reading and tell you some good stuff about a lot of stuff.
Yep.
And I think it'll be an interesting show. I get quite a few show and tell examples. And so we'll do that for an hour or so. So
Bill's probably got as many books, well, not quite as many as the library, but he runs a close second, I think.
I do it. I just bought some more too.
I know. Is there any magazine you don't get?
No.
He gives me reading material. Honest to God, when he gives me a bag of stuff, I am never surprised now what's in it. Yesterday was what, the American thing of bird watching digest?
Yeah. I know that Monica likes that.
I never even heard of some of those magazines.
Yeah. Well, and what happened was there was two small bird watching magazines.
Yeah, you sent them over.
Yeah, and the guy that owned the operation went bankrupt.
Okay.
So a rich guy, and I guess he's got all kinds of money, bought the rights to those two books and said, now this doesn't make sense. We're going to have one big book.
Okay.
And I guess, according to the introduction in the book, and he'll tell you about it in there, he's well financed, and this is going to be a permanent thing. So, yeah, it's good stuff.
Oh, yeah. Says things about trappers and what the price of hides are, or pelts, and
good stuff to keep you on your toes. Yeah. But anyway, so we'll do some of that stuff. But Dwayne, I get like 8 or 9 issues.
All right, go ahead.
And they're not the most important things in the world, but they are things that I wanted to talk to you about for the last, I don't know, couple of shows,
yeah,
3 shows.
They slip through the...
Yeah, they're just not important enough to put them on the top of the pile.
Okay.
So we don't have a top of the pile
let's dig into
today. So, the first one is basketball star Brittany Griner, who is being held in Russia for trial on smuggling illegal drugs into Russia.
That's right.
So, what exactly do you think about this?
Well, Bill, I think if you go to a foreign country, you better damn well know what their laws are.
And don't you think, too, that if she went over there as part of an organization, the Women's National Basketball Association, don't you think they would have handed out...
They brief them.
Yeah, brief them.
When they go over there. They have a big briefing sessions, and more than once, I'm sure. This is what you do. You don't do this, and you can't do this. If you do this, you're going to get in trouble. Even though it's no big deal here, it's a big deal there. You can't go to somebody else's house and trash it.
That's exactly. You know, what kills me is her excuse. I had to pack in a hurry.
Yeah, come on.
I mean, she only knew she was going to go to Russia for how long?
Yeah.
And she waited until 10 minutes before the taxi was going to take her to the airport to pack? I mean, come on.
Believe that, you'll believe in a tooth fairy.
She took the stuff over there because she was using it.
Of course.
And she said, we can do anything we want. We're Americans. We're in the WNBA. We're big stuff in Russia.
And I can do it at home.
Bingo.
Yep.
So now she's caught.
That's right.
And she's caught between 2 countries.
Yeah, and she's got herself into a ringer, so to speak, because it's not just what she did. She's now part of a pawn of a big, much, much bigger thing than she is.
Bingo. This is the consequences for bad behavior. And should we dismiss this? It's a criminal offense. I mean, what's your defense? Stupidity?
Yeah. In cases like this, honey, you got it yourself in, get yourself out. Whatever you got to do, you got to do. Of course, if I was king or you were king, I wouldn't let state get involved in it.
Right. Right.
It has nothing to do with us.
That's exactly right. Exactly. Well, we're working behind the scenes with the Russian government.
It's going to cost us, is what it's going to do.
You know what's going to happen? There's going to be 2 guys that we have in prison in Romania.
They've already named one of them.
Yeah, that have been arrested, but we put them over there.
Yeah,
Okay.
we got one.
Yeah.
That's an international terrorist
Yep.
supplying arms to international terrorist group. They figure that they're going to want to trade him for her.
Yep. The Russians will work out, well,
Oh, yeah.
give us 3 of those people you got and you can have this one back. Don't let her come back over
No,
here again.
Keep her.
Keep her, yeah. So,
Sorry, but that's where I
Sorry.
stand on it.
you know what, though, we shouldn't say we're sorry.
No, I'm not. That's
Because-
true. I'm not sorry.
Because bad actions need to be punished.
Well, you and I have both said it for a long time. You're responsible for what's your actions. You're responsible for the consequences.
That's exactly right.
I can see there's sometimes you didn't do anything. Just something happened to you. That's a different story. When you deliberately do something, you deliberately walk into a bank with a note that says, "Hand me all your money," with a mask on and a bag to put it in, and then get caught outside. So I didn't have a gun or nothing. I didn't say I was robbing. I was just. That's a different. That's.
When you go
you
out
go to
some
jail.
night and have 11 or 12 beers and drive home.
Yeah, drive home.
Yeah, you know
That you shouldn't have been doing that.
I mean, the devil made me do it. It's no
Yeah.
defense.
No.
Yeah. All right. Well, all right. Miss Griner, boom, that's you. Next question, sir.
Yes, sir.
And this is perhaps a little bit more sticky, a sticky wicket.
Okay.
The fight between the PGA, Professional
Oh, yeah,
Golf
and-
Association, and the Saudis-backed LIF Golf Tour.
I have no idea what that stands for. If it's what it
No,
means.
something.
Nobody. I've never seen once it stands for.
No, in fact, there's no place in the article
No.
here where it's. What do you think about that? I mean, it seems to me that this is sort of like Major League Baseball. You sign with us and you're ours for
Yeah.
6 years. You can't move, you can't go do anything else or whatever. And I guess PGA's argument is, we made you rich. We made you establish your name, you did it, now tournaments, and now you're going to go to somebody else that's richer. Listen, that's the way of the world, for heaven's sakes. I mean, you changed jobs in your career when you had a better chance and you
absolutely.
could make more money
Yep.
or less travel or whatever you want to have it. So should you have been precluded from that?
No. In fact, the non-compete clauses, most of them used to have in
Yeah.
employment, but a lot of them have gone by the wayside. But as far as that, the thing about golf, I was a golfer. Not anything on a pro level. I was a recreational golfer several times a week, and I still watch golf. I enjoy
And that's
watching.
why I picked this article to talk about.
And what you got is the PGA, MLB, NBA, NFL. It doesn't matter. Well, NFL is they seem to be a little more flexible on some stuff.
Yeah.
But they got a monopoly, so to speak, on talent and on presentation. Because quite frankly, when it comes down to it, it is a sporting event, but it's still show business.
MONEY, baby.
MONEY, that's right. If it wasn't there, they wouldn't be there.
That's right.
And they want to protect that nest egg that they've got. And I can see why, but I don't think it's fair or right.
Right, it's like a movie studio, and three of your stars say, "We're not making any more movies with you." Yeah, we're going to
go
go over
someplace
to
else.
MGM or something.
Now, I suspect that if they wouldn't have made such a fuss about it, the two programs could have run side by side, because doesn't have a lot of dates, and you got LIV, you got PGA, you also got USGA already in there.
Right.
They get along. They just kind of run parallel. Well, you take that date, I'll take this date. They know each other's schedule.
Yeah. And you got the senior tour.
But
That's part of PGA, yeah.
But I mean, there's room for
Another party.
yeah, because you got Corn Ferry, which is like AAA in baseball.
Yep.
Actually, they're people that are just coming up on the rosters, but you don't have to make a fuss over it. Now, a PGA, I'm sure, says, yeah, but that damn LIV, minimum $25 million purse.
$8.5 million first prize.
Yeah, ours is if you got $2 million, it's a big one.
Yeah, hello.
And if the purse gets up 7, 8, 10, or 11, 2 or 5 or
Yeah.
2 digits,
Yeah.
it's a huge one. But they're going to offer that all the time, so they feel threatened on that. And but I think I just let things. I think it's fair that if you just let it go, you play your games, let them play their games, put them in when you can. If one happens to,
Conflict.
just don't see who goes where.
You know, it's a lot like the AFL and the NFL.
Yeah.
The NFL didn't try to put the AFL out of
No,
business.
that's right.
They didn't squash them like a bug. They just ignored them. And if you say, and say, if you want some of our washed-up old players,
Yeah.
take them.
Yeah.
And the whole thing come down to economics. And then finally, two cool heads sat down and said, "You're spending too much money. We're spending too much money. Can't we agree to kind of work together?" And there it is.
The PGA is not short of players by any means.
Right.
Look at the roster sometime of a major tournament, the first 2 days before they have to make
Yeah.
the cut. It's 140, 150, 160 entrants. Some of them you never heard of. Some of them never get beyond the cut level.
That's right.
They used to call them trunk slammers because they would throw their clubs in and slam the trunk and go home. But some of these guys, they rarely ever make the cut.
Right.
But they could if there was openings. So there's no shortage of players
No.
at all.
No. And you know what? And there's enough money to go around.
Absolutely.
And not only that, but the LIV could also, well, probably work out some stuff where they kind of did a lot of the stuff over in Europe, as opposed to coming full
Exactly.
blast to the U.S.
Yeah, exactly.
There's enough room for everybody at this dance, you know, to find a partner.
But to start crying poor mouth and whining, that don't look good.
Yeah, and you know, oh, you're a traitor and
Yeah.
all that kind of crap. Listen,
NASCAR learned years ago not to fight these people or offshoots. Join them.
yeah,
Some of them buy them out. But, you know, you got ARCA. You got they call it Menard Series now across the country, but they run in cooperation with NASCAR. They don't fight. They don't, and they
makes
don't
sense.
draw much for crowds. Some of them, but people there are not for that race; they're for the next day's race, and so they both benefit.
That's right.
But it's there's like you said, there's enough to go around.
Yeah, there is really. So I think what our stance for this show is: grow up, both of you.
Yeah.
Knock off the baloney.
And if anybody want to send me a Big Bertha driver, you can get my address. I looked at those when they first came out.
Yeah, it's about the size of a pie plate.
It's like like
Yeah.
putting a basketball into your club.
You know, I wrote an article once when I was writing the articles for the newspaper. What big babies golfers were. They have the driver the size of a pie plate. They have a binocular you can look through. Oh, it's 98 yards. Okay, we'll hit a wedge. I mean, come on.
Most of them don't allow you to use that around a tournament.
Really?
Once in a while, there's a tournament that does allow it. But that Big Bertha, that was a Callaway,
Callaway, yeah.
and that was Vermont Casting Company owned them. And I called on them for the Ruger line, the arms. And I won one of those clubs, but when they came out, they were $299. They're like $500 or $600 now. And I thought, well, maybe if I can, and I sweet talked them up there in Vermont, and I praised them and everything. Oh, you like it?
Got a reject?
You know what I got? A T-shirt.
A T-shirt. And a bag of teas.
I didn't even get the teas. They said, "Oh, we got something for you," and I'm thinking, "Yes,
All right.
yes, a T-shirt."
No such thing as a free lunch. No. Well, there is, but you sell your soul for it.
Yeah.
I have two articles. They kind of speak to the same issue as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
We can't surrender the war on drugs.
No, we can't.
All right? We simply cannot do it. But yet, the state of Massachusetts has entertained decriminalization and if working on an act relative to harm reduction and racial equality. Got that one?
Oh, I heard it.
There's two bills, and the lawmakers have refused to debate it in person.
Mm-hmm.
I love the courage of the Massachusetts legislature.
Oh my God.
I mean, John F. Kennedy, if he were still alive today, he could write chapter after chapter in his book, Profiles in Courage, of these bozos.
They
So they didn't talk about this in public. No public debate. They had it on closed circuit TV.
They don't want to be accountable for anything.
That's right. They don't want anyone
That's
to
right.
be able to hear what he said and throw it up in their face at the next
And have
election.
an actual accountable vote.
That's
You voted
right.
yes or you voted no and be accountable.
Yep.
If they're going to vote something, they want a voice vote where everybody says yay or nay and that's it.
And to show their courage, they voted to refer the bills to a study committee.
That's
And
so
that
convenient.
is the end of it. That's like taking it to the Norfolk dump and throwing it in
That's
the bucket.
just pushing the trash can.
It's all done.
That's what it is.
Yep. Those who want drug policy changed see hope in even these efforts. The war on drugs has failed. The experience of the last few decades shows arresting and jailing people for drug use does not work. All right, so we'll stop right there
Okay.
and skip down a few lines. Drugs are more potent, readily available, cheaper than ever before, and people are cycling through prison with zero chance of access to recovery services. The approach that Massachusetts is considering offers people a new option, a health-based option. Okay, so we have laws against drug trafficking, drug usage, and all of that. And people end up in prison. All right, they've broken the law, they must accept the consequences. But, and I agree totally with this, they need help while they're in there.
It's a perfect time. They used to call it drying out. I don't know
Right,
what the hell
yeah.
they call it now.
Dropkick Murphys.
Yeah.
Go to Dropkick Murphys and dry out.
But that's a perfect time
Yeah.
because they're not going to go out this afternoon or tonight and
That's
score
right.
again because they're going to be in jail, in their
That's
prison
right.
cell. This is the time that you want to take them and you want to. I don't know how to do it. I'm not a psychologist. We're not. We don't know.
Actually, you got to reprogram people.
Exactly. You got to
Yeah.
reprogram that brain of theirs.
Yeah.
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 And this is the time to do it.
You've got them in a controlled
Yep.
circumstance.
Exactly.
All right, it's like kids in school.
Mm-hmm.
Bring them in, sit them down, teach them, work with them, try to rehabilitate them. Now, some, it's not going to work.
No, but some will.
That's
you
exactly
can-
right.
If you could keep knocking off 25% and 30% and 25, pretty soon you get it under. You'll never get it out total. And as long as there's a demand for something like drugs, there's going to be somebody to supply it.
Yeah.
It's just supply and demand. We exist that way, but you will never be able to stop all from making it or bringing it in because you just can't. It's physically impossible.
Yeah, and the tragic part of this is we are such a corrupt state
Oh,
that the problem is with this is they are getting drugs smuggled into the prisons.
yeah, that's
And this, of course, is the authorities that are doing it.
yeah. Most of the
Yeah.
time they're done by
Yeah.
corrections
Yeah.
officers or administrators.
And you know what? Those are the guys that should end up in jail
Oh.
with a sentence that's twice the size of the addicts.
yeah, because they're the one that should know better.
That's right.
Really have
That's
have a
right.
higher standard. The bar should be much
and
higher
they
for them.
are subverting a program to help these people by bringing that crap in. But money talks.
Yep.
Without question, getting addicts in recovery and off drugs is of primary importance. Duh. But and this I think we're absolutely right about this, Dwayne. This is the time to do it when
Absolutely.
they're sentenced.
Yep.
And by the way, if we had an honest system and an honest approach to this, and we worked with them, the ones that would get paroled first are the ones that have turned it around.
Absolutely.
And the ones that can't cope or refuse to cope or refuse to cooperate, hey, serve your sentence.
That's right. Yeah. Once they're released, and go even to the halfway houses, the temptations are just too great at that time to start the rehab, because they're from every side. The drug dealers are coming back at them.
And you know what and I firmly believe this, the biggest single problem is we parole these people and they don't have a job.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay? Because idle hands are the devil's workshop. I love that one. Don't you folks like that one? But the problem again is, what are they qualified for? But there's got to be some sort of a retraining deal. Maybe a big company. Maybe somebody like, who knows? Well, I'm at a loss here to think of a big company in Massachusetts, to be honest with you. So much of our stuff is research labs and stuff like that. But Moderna drugs, it's difficult to take someone who's got a 7th grade education and bring him to Moderna and say, can you find something for this guy?
That's not a fit.
No, it's not.
However, I think the trade unions could step up.
And retrain guys. The
Yep.
plumbers union,
Plumbers,
the
carpenters,
electricians,
electricians.
carpenters,
You may not make a master plumber out of them, but you may make a plumber's helper out of
a
them.
carpenter's helper.
Yeah.
Take these boards up on your shoulder and bring them over there.
Or cut this board here or do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And gradually
Get
get
another
them
keg
more
of
and more and more
nails.
skilled,
Yeah.
and they make good money. But again,
That's
the
right.
union is going to protect themselves against any incomer people coming into that business.
That's right. That's
So
exactly
that's where you're going to run into trouble there.
That's right. Yep. And it's, wait a minute. now. My brother's kid, Eddie, is on the list to get one of these apprentice jobs. You mean
Exactly.
he's being bumped off for some con? Where's the fairness here?
You're right. You're exactly right. That's
Yeah.
what's going to
And
happen.
that's what's going to happen. So I also get a kick out of our politicians, especially. You know, the drug dealers get a bad rap. You know, there's no violence in being a drug dealer. It's a business transaction.
It is. You see a lot of you see grandmothers out there doing it. It's peaceful.
Yeah. But late last month, 10 Boston gang members and associates were convicted of racketeering, drugs, and firearm charges. Court and records indicate one Dorchester gang is involved in murders, attempted murders, armed robberies, drug trafficking, and sex trafficking. But
Yeah.
they're not violent.
Oh, they're probably one of those.
Now, take some 18-year-old girl that gets her face punched in by a pimp
Yeah.
and tell her that wasn't violent. While there are those addicts who would choose treatment and get clean if drugs were decriminalized, that won't stop dealers from looking for fresh victims.
Well, yeah, they have to have a.
So what's unspoken here in this article, though, is the dealers and distributors. They're the ones that are bringing this stuff in,
Yeah.
getting people hooked on it, selling to these people, and plenty of money in it, but there's plenty of violence in it.
Oh, absolutely.
But we don't go after the drug dealers. You see something once in a while. Oh, the Revere cops opened up a guy's trunk and found 36 pounds of fentanyl. Whoa, whoopee!
Or the state east, 2 o'clock in the morning, stopped a car going north on 95 at 110 miles an hour. And lo
Exactly.
and behold, in the trunk, there was, like you said, 20 pounds of fentanyl and
Yeah.
40 pounds of cocaine.
Where is the organized pursuit of these people and their arrest? It doesn't exist.
It does not.
No. So, to me, we are not at war with the drug dealers. It seems to me that's where it starts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Did you ever watch? It's about the smuggling through the airports.
No.
That is a good show.
My life tends to keep me away from anything that's violence.
And
or
sometimes they're
anything like
U.S.
that.
airports. Sometimes it's JFK, Miami, are two of the common ones. And you kind of see the futility of what they're doing. Now they're getting some stuff. Of course they are. They wouldn't exist. But it's like having a sieve. You got one finger to hold the one little hole shut. Well, you did
Exactly.
it there, but there's 85 other holes sprouting water.
And you know that what you said about the state cop stopping the guy that was going 100 miles
If
an
he
hour.
wasn't- if he
well,
was-
he obviously was a moron. Of
course.
But what the cops would say is, so see if I got this right. You want me to stop every car that I see going north on 95 after midnight and search it for drugs?
Can't be done.
Can't be done. If he gets one,
Yeah.
he's out of business for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
Between arresting the guy,
And
putting him in
reports
jail, and sitting down and writing up all the bloody forms.
Yep.
And in that time, 150 more go by. So we have to have the will to do it. So Now, I have another article that coincides with this article. District Attorney Kevin Hayden, District Attorney for Boston, Suffolk County. Out-of-state guns account for more than half of the seizures on hub streets. One of the important ways to stem the tide that we're working on that is innovative and different is focusing on traffickers. Focus on trying to get those guns out of the hands of traffickers before they even hit the streets. Let me just change his words just a little bit, okay? What we're working on that is innovative and different is focusing on drug traffickers. Focusing on getting the drugs out of their hands before they hit the street.
Obviously.
So what the hell is wrong with that approach? If we're going to use it for guns, if it works
of
for
course.
guns, why won't it work for drugs?
Well, you can if you. The entrance is so porous.
Yeah.
You can't.
I think, too, that the beautiful people, what's wrong with recreational drugs? We have a party, and we have fun, and those poor, and the kids. I mean, you're just trapping our children when you arrest them, and
Yeah, it's always somebody else's kid that you want.
yeah, but guns is something that they're rallying around.
Well, it's the same thing, though. I don't disagree that the guns coming in were from some other easier place to accumulate them or buy them. But what does a drug trafficker look like?
What's a gun trafficker look like?
Yeah, you say, well, there's one you can tell by how he's got big ears,
Yeah.
or his nose is crooked.
No, he's left-handed.
He's left-handed. Yeah, how the hell he doesn't drive up the road, with hands out the window, an AK-47 in each hand.
They stopped. I was in the paper the other day. A car with Arkansas license plates on it.
Mm-hmm.
It had some defective equipment. And what's in the duffel bag? My clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Can we look? Well, you're gonna look anyway. 14 weapons.
Yeah.
Brought them up from Arkansas.
Yep.
What are you gonna do with these? Sell them. Well,
yeah.
you're not, because we have
Not
them
anymore,
now.
you're not.
But you know what? I'll bet you anything. He'll skate, and they'll say, go back to Arkansas,
Yeah.
and don't
Never
ever
do.
come back up here again.
I promise.
I promise.
I promise.
Your Honor, I'm going to sing "Hooray for Arkansas" all the way home.
He's going to turn around and go, a-holes, and get out of here.
But it just seems to me we have an inconsistency in the way we're approaching
Yeah.
the guns that are on the street and the drugs that are on the street. And by the by, just out of curiosity, we might add, which kills more people, guns or drugs? If you answer
if you have
drugs, you're right.
Yeah, because it's so much widely used.
Absolutely. And by
And
a
if
factor of about almost 3 to 1.
And with the advent of the synthetic opioids, aka fentanyl, the death toll has gone just straight on up.
Yep. And
And the strange part of it is, the stronger and the deadlier it is, the more attractive it is to some of these users.
And by the way, the Biden administration, I feel your pain, and all of that. But where does the fentanyl come in? At the southern border, you say? Why is it wide open?
Yeah,
Why aren't we stopping the fentanyl from coming into this country? Do you think somebody's getting paid off?
well, of course something's getting paid off, but
Do you think there's multiple people being paid off?
yes, I think so too.
But
But fentanyl's a multi originating source. A lot of it comes from the Asia and East and China, and it comes in through almost anything. If you actually went through the ports of Long Beach, for example, those big or what do they call them? The big things they call on semis, those big
Yeah.
freight things.
Containers. freight
Containers, yeah.
Yeah.
They see, when you get old,
Well, it's
you lose
those
it.
technical terms get us.
High tech. Well, containers. If you actually could go through those containers, you'd be amazed, I think, what you're going to find for contraband in those. But there's tens of thousands of them coming in all the time from all these different ports. You just can't handle everything.
Do it. Yep. Of course.
You see this show about smuggling through the airports mostly. It's amazing they get what they do. Another one they set up with Laredo and New Laredo in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Where the couple of that, they do the one of Tijuana area, and there's another one, Juarez, or one of them.
Yeah.
And they said how many thousands of semis come every day through there. They
Yeah.
got lanes 8 and 10 wide. It's just semis, one after another.
What do you got in there? Tomatoes. Okay.
They don't have time enough to say hello to the driver.
By the way, I was reading an article. A tractor trailer came through, and I don't know what, it probably was a tip.
Yeah, a lot of times that is.
Guess what was inside the tires?
Oh, that's
Drugs.
watching this program. That's crude. That's elementary.
Yeah.
Oh my God, tires. The last one I saw, they were in the batteries. They would take the cells out of the batteries. They had a weakened battery now, but inside, underneath the acid stuff, was full of fentanyl
Yeah.
or printed material. They soak it somehow in the
In fentanyl.
in the print and stuff. And then they somehow process the print. You can't see it. You can't smell it. You can't.
Wow.
It's
Unbelievable.
ingenious what they're
Yeah.
doing.
And we're doing nothing about it.
Well, we're trying.
Essentially.
Well, we are. We've got my daughter-in-law's company. She works for thermal part of Boston Scientific and that
Okay.
whole group. They use one of their machines on one of these shows, and I pointed it out to her. She never watched it. I said, "Well, you better watch it. Tell your company what." She did. And they congratulated. The company had noticed that they had been using a thermal machine. And it's a thing about this big, Bill. And they take this unknown powder, put it on there, and press a button, and it's this, it's that, it's this, percentage of this, 20 fentanyl, there it is,
Bingo bango.
just like that.
Yeah.
But again, there's so much to do. You got the machine, the material, the technology to do it.
We got to gear up for it.
Yeah.
Instead of this climate stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all important, okay? But we are wasting more money in this country on some of the stuff we do.
Yeah, we not only is it costing us in lost manpower and productivity, it's costing us billions of dollars in enforcement. If we could take all the drug-related enforcement and put it into something else, we wouldn't have to be put up with these roads. We wouldn't have to put up with this. We don't have to. We could do a lot of things with it.
Yeah, and we've gotten involved in this adventure in the Ukraine,
Yep.
and that is just a money pit we're dumping money into.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And the strategy is to not win, but to make it possible so the Russians cannot win.
Yeah, that's right.
So we're going to have a standoff, and if it's 4 or 5 years before the Russians finally give up, well, so be it. Well, how much money is that going to take out of our economy?
You can't even calculate what it is.
No,
It's huge.
it's just unbelievable. And it seems to me that there's a better way to handle the Ukraine. a survival guide. This was in the Wall Street Journal. A survival guide for dealing with a really bad boss. So I'm not going to read all this crap, but I just want to ask you.
Have you ever had a bad boss?
Yes, two.
Oh, I have a couple of them.
Two of them. Absolutely incredible. So how did I deal with them? I ignored them.
I did too. I just stayed on the road more often.
Yep.
Didn't go.
Yeah. And I just went about my business. I know what I'm doing, and just leave me alone.
Yeah. I was a national sales manager like you, and I'm just planning schedules to be out.
Yep.
And
I must tell you this, though. My first boss at the Foxborough Company was a decent enough sort.
Yeah.
Not terribly bright.
Yeah, I know the type.
Been there 18 years, so they made him a bench boss. Yeah, give him a little more money, and so basically, I used to have a function I did when my first job there. I used to go through the whole plant, checking the oxygen, nitrogen, acetylene, argon bottles that were being used by production, looking at whether they needed to be replaced or not. And if they did, I would get a fresh one and bring it to that department, and they would swap it out, and I'd get the empty the next day and bring it back to the holding area. But so that was like a 3-hour a day project. An hour and a half in the morning, an hour and a half in the afternoon, or when they called me. Hey, Bill, come on, get us one of these, quick. So in the meantime, I would spend my time, I was told, to go in the packaging room. And they'll find some work for you. So I used to work in the packaging room for 5 hours, more or less, out of the day. So I got to know the guy that was the bench boss. So he'd talk to me and he'd say, you know, you're a smart guy. What do you think of this? Or what do you think of that? One day, he said to me, hey, I was watching television last night. This is a true story, folks. I was watching television last night. He said, now, you're Irish, right? I said, mostly, yeah. You never told me about leprechauns. I said, no, we never talked about that, did we? He said, those are amazing creatures. Now, they have those in Ireland, but we don't have any over here.
Maybe we should import some.
And I said to him, well, it's just a fairy tale. They're not real. What? He yelled at me. He said, you're wrong. Why are you telling me this? He said, that was on Walt Disney last night. Walt Disney can't lie. And they can't put stuff on television that's not real.
You got to wonder sometimes, don't you?
Wow. So I said to myself after that, I really have got to watch my conversations with this guy.
Yep.
But he never more or less forgave me for that for a long time. Then he'd go back to, hey, you're a smart guy. What do you think of this? And
I worked for a guy that bought the company, didn't know the product line, anything about it at all. He came from an entirely alien industry and would not believe anybody telling him because he knew we were doing everything wrong. That's why the company was what it was. You couldn't tell him anything. It was, well, that's the problem around here. You guys are so stuck in your antiquated thinking. Yeah, your tunnel vision. No wonder you can't do anything. You know, I used to tell him, he took over some of the purchasing from the vice president of purchasing in his group. We thought, oh my God, that was a horror show. we told him about this was hard lines. We don't not computer hard lines, but hardware hard lines. That this stuff is some of this is seasonal. Can't be seasonal. There's no such thing. So we said,
Garden tools.
yeah, well,
That's not seasonal.
in those days, consumer power tools, like low-end Black & Deckers, you sell them 2 times a year, Father's Day and Christmas. You don't move anything the rest of the time.
So how did you handle that? Just ignore him?
Well, the vice president quit. He quit. Vice president of purchasing, he says, I can't handle this guy. He said, I'm going on something else. In fact, he went on to his own business.
Yeah.
But he said, this guy's going to be out of business in a year, maybe more. He was off about 2 months. He lasted 14 months. I went back for the auction because I had quit too after that. About 6 months later, I said, that's it. This place is, the plug is pulled and the water's going out.
It's going to drive it right into the ground.
You got inventories that are total dead. You were told in those days when carbide blades came out, the circular saw blades, they were very expensive because they, for some reason, they had to put them little carbide tips one by one. A little guy, somebody sat at a desk and they somehow soldered them. Then somebody, I think it was Oregon, come up with a manufacturing process that they just put them out by the thousands.
Bingo, bango.
And of course, the price is going to fall. Well, the price. He's got a deal now to buy these blades. We told him don't do that because the price is going to bottom's going to fall right up. You guys don't know what you're talking about. You don't take advantage of stuff like this. He's got half a truckload of stuff coming in. Couldn't sell them. Hell, the retail market was less, hell of a lot less than he paid for them. What are you going to do with them? Make paperweights out of them? But it was crap like this, and he would not believe you. Would just, if you told him it was raining out, he said, no, it's sun shining.
Yeah. It's amazing. I had a boss who I said to him one morning, hey, I'm going to be late tomorrow morning. I'll be in at noontime. Oh, okay. What do you got? I said, I'm remortgaging my house. So refinancing it, so I'll get it past the papers with the lawyer's office and all that stuff. Oh. What are you doing that for? I said, because I'm going down 2.5 points in the interest rate. But you're starting all over again. I said,
Yeah, but at a lower interest rate, a lower principal.
yeah, but it's a direct reduction loan, Dick. What's a direct reduction loan? He didn't understand how mortgages worked. He thought he had 7 years to go on his house, and he was paying like 9 or 9.5 or 10%
I had one
on
of
his
those.
house,
Yeah.
and he could refinance down to 4, but he wouldn't do it because I'd have to start all over again with 30 years.
Yeah, his
I said,
idea.
but the balance doesn't change, for God's sakes. You could double your payments every month and still be way the hell ahead of the game. He couldn't understand
that, no.
And we got into a hell of an argument.
You know,
So I said to him,
deal with somebody like that, you just got to, at some point, 10, at some point you just got to say, yeah, go ahead.
I thought I could salvage him. I said, you're big friends with the head. You're always telling me you're this banker friend of yours, this big shot in Providence. You're big friends with him. Will you please, I beg you, call him, tell him your situation,
Yeah.
and ask him what you should do? Well, his wife said to him, do it. So he did. Come back in the next day. Yeah, you were right.
I'm surprised he admitted it.
Yep. Yeah, he explained it to me better than you did. You didn't know how to explain it.
There
to
you
me.
go.
Yeah.
It's always something.
Telling you. Oh God, I had a couple of with him. I had a couple of go-rounds like that, buying options on Swedish crown. Well, when I used to buy the goods from Sweden from the father company over there and bring them in, we used to have to buy crowns and pay them in
Yeah.
crowns. So I would buy futures, a future option on them. If they got to 9 to the dollar or 9.2 to the dollar, I'd buy $20,000 or $30,000 worth. What are you doing this for? You're gambling. You know, you could lose your shirt. I said, how? How?
Yeah.
I'm locked in. Okay? They have to give me the 9.2 rate when I need the crowns.
Yeah, that's
And he could not understand that, and he had to call the banker again. You'll bankrupt us with this foolishness. And he came in the next day and never mentioned it again.
Nope.
Never said a word to me about it again. So my system was to ignore them.
yeah, it's pretty much all you can do.
Well, the law of unforeseen consequences can be a cruel master.
Absolutely.
Headlines: Coal makes a comeback as energy needs grow.
That's right.
So we're using more coal in this country and around the world.
It's not surprising
A blind man could have seen this coming.
when all you hear is no fossil fuels, electrify everything. I mean, you electrify your dog and your cats if they could do it. Where the hell is electricity going to come from? It's got to be generated somehow, somewhere, and you're not going to do it with solar and wind.
No, we're not. We'll talk about that at the next show because I got some data about where the power comes from in this country. The power plants that are producing electricity, 82% fossil fuel.
Yeah.
Then there's a subset for nuclear, and then finally at the bottom,
Solar and wind.
3% is solar.
Yeah.
3% is the sun.
Yeah, solar.
Yeah. And 5% is solar. Boy, that's great, huh?
Yeah, I know.
After all this money we're spending. And by the way, you know what else is interesting too? Is Texans are being told not to charge their electric cars from 10 in the morning till 6 or 8 at night.
The severe heat that they're into right now. I've got friends, we got relatives in Texas, and I suspect that get a call anytime that their power system, their grid is failing again, like it did when it was a couple of winters ago. Hi, Bill. Because they're maxed. They're already told that they shouldn't be running appliances from, I think, 2 o'clock in the afternoon till 8 o'clock at night.
Oh, that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
Appliances, that's air conditioning, isn't
Yeah,
it?
washing machines, stereo, stoves.
This is a hell of an administration.
Everybody's system is, you get a thing like either cold or heat. Particularly heat, I think, is probably worse than the cold because of the AC is a big drawing of power. It stresses that the grid says right up to the end. I wouldn't be surprised even our systems that we're on here in Massachusetts, we're pretty close to the fine line here.
That's but coal use is increasing. And by the way, Germany's gone back to coal.
Yeah.
They won't admit they made a mistake with the nuclear plants.
Yeah. See,
But they're going back to coal.
I cannot believe, I might be totally wrong too, because I'm wrong a lot of times. My wife tells me that time and time again. But I can't believe that you can't take coal and clean it up. There's got to be a way.
Scrubbers. Yeah.
I mean, even beyond just the
Scrubbers.
carbon
yeah.
scrubbers. I mean, there's got to be some. kind of someplace. It was,
They gasified it during Hitler's reign of power. In Germany, they used coal gasification plants. It's probably very dirty to do,
could
but
be.
I'm sure it can be done.
Yeah.
But you're right. There's more research required. But they
Because-
don't want to do it
Yes.
because they're digging down into the earth.
Plus, they all believe that they're going to be put out of business. So why should we invest anything?
Right. Exactly. That's the big problem.
Yeah.
This administration has not been honest with the country because we're going to have fossil fuels for 30 or 40 years. We're going to be needing them.
It's not just the oil that people.
Yeah.
When you see fossil fuels, they talk about gas, fuel oil, coal. They don't talk about plastic.
Hey,
They
by
don't
the
talk about rubber. They don't
Why-
talk about chemicals. They
Yeah.
don't talk about fertilizer.
yeah, Main Street got paved with asphalt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, everybody loves it. Where did asphalt come from?
That's fossil
Oh.
fuels.
Fossil fuels. Oh. One more quickie here.
All right.
Wisconsin drop boxes are ruled
Yeah, I
illegal.
saw that. Yeah.
The state Supreme Court says you've got to bring your ballot to the voting station and deposit it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or you have to do it with the county clerk or whatever it is,
Whatever
town
they do,
clerk
yeah.
or whatever. You know, this business about mailing in ballots is fraught with danger. It can be manipulated. It can be gamed.
It could be.
How much of it is done, I don't know. It's impossible to say.
Yeah.
But they have caught. Well, one time down there in St. Louis, one of the precincts, it was a very small precinct. 694 registered voters.
Yeah.
Yeah. 1,800 voters voted,
Yeah. That's,
and they all voted for Obama.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're
So
going to get that.
it can be done.
Yeah, it can be done, but I don't get excited about that kind of stuff because it's so difficult to generate them kind of numbers to actually do anything. That
Absentee ballots, that's a different
Yeah.
story. That's one-on-one with your town clerk who knows you or should know
Yeah.
you. Or you have to state your reasons for it. They mail it to you, you mail it back. I don't see too much room for hooky-dooky there.
I mail in. I don't either. We mailed our last ones. It was so convenient.
Yeah.
We're going to request it again this time.
Yeah.
But you got to request a ballot, and you get one ballot. If you lose it, you lost your vote. That's all. If you
Yeah.
mail it in, I don't know if it's even prepaid on postage or not. If not, it'll cost you 60 cents or whatever the cost is now on a first class stamp.
It's 58.
Something,
50,
I
I
don't
don't know. It's not.
Since they took the dollar or the amount off the stamps, I don't know what they cost.
Do you know something? The average automobile on the road today is 12 years old.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
In fact, mine is. Well, see, 14, 16. Mine's 8.
And 1 million barrels of oil from our strategic oil reserves has been sold to China.
Oh yeah, that's
Unbelievable.
for a while there. Almost all the oil coming out of Alaska was going to Asia.
Unbelievable. Well, folks, we're going to wind down the first half of our show, and we're going to be back with some delightful chatter about what we've been reading. So we'll see you after the break.
Take care.